Welcome back to The Takeover. On today's episode, we're going to talk about the state of distributor marketing. And I'm excited to have friend and guest Jonathan Bein from Real Results Marketing out in Colorado. Jonathan has a PhD in computer science, tons of years working with distributors of all shapes and sizes, and he's the managing partner out at Real Results Marketing. And he takes a unique analytical approach to helping his customers develop segmentation, positioning, pricing, and channel strategies. And I always joke around with Jonathan that he's the left brain of marketing in the industrial supply world, and I'm the right brain. And together we can make a whole. So together we're going to come together and have a whole conversation about his recent publication on the state of distributor marketing for 2018. And we'll talk about what some of the best practices are that distributors can take moving into 2019. So excited about having this conversation and sharing it with you. You can learn more about Jonathan at realresultsmarketing.com, and we'll share more at the end of the show about how to access some of these great educational resources. But a quick note, unfortunately, the technology didn't work out with us so well this time. We don't have the video of Jonathan or mine, our beautiful faces for you today. So the video portion of this interview just didn't work out. Sorry about that if you're watching on YouTube or Facebook. However, I hope that this still delivers a ton of value and you enjoy listening to my conversation with Jonathan. All right. So, Jonathan, thank you so much for joining us on The Takeover. Excited to have you here. I have so many questions that I'll be asking you today. I don't know if we're going to get through all of them, but I'm going to do my best. First of all, just thanks so much for being here. Tell us a little bit about the survey that you do and who you do the research with and really the why behind that survey.
So we do this state of distributor marketing survey every year, and I think this is the sixth year that we've run it. And part of what we want to do is part of our mission in distribution is help understand what's working in terms of best practices for marketing. Our goal is to help distributors get better at marketing, to make marketing into a profit center. So benchmarking is one of the things we do in distributor marketing and also in distributor e-commerce. We're getting ready to run the state of distributor e-commerce survey. So I've read your findings on the 2018 state of distributor marketing. Really fascinating results, and I love how you've put together and summarize them into two really easily digestible posts that are on your website. So I was reading through that, and really in part one of that post, you talk about the steady move to digital marketing. And I think we all understand that. We understand the importance of that. But one of the things you said is that it may not be happening fast enough. So maybe could you touch on that, your opinion on that, and maybe some other trends that you found that were interesting that came out of this survey? I heard an expression, I don't remember where it was from, but paradigms change one person retiring at a time. So we do have a big generational shift in management and ownership of distributors. And we're definitely in that shift. So there are more younger people getting involved in marketing. But still, one of the things that's, I think, a limiting factor for many distributors is they view marketing as a tactical function. And that manifests, or that is evident in a number of ways. One is most companies don't have a chief marketing officer. Or if they do have a chief marketing officer, they're reporting to sales. They don't really embrace the importance of marketing. When we see somebody who has the title VP of Sales and Marketing, we know it's capital S in sales and lowercase m in marketing, right?
Right.
So even though there are more younger people who know, for example, digital media, social media,
digital marketing techniques coming into these companies, they're in a very tactical role. So I think that's a limiting factor in why it's not happening quickly enough. And when compared to other industries, we see that the number of companies that would be considered really leading in marketing, getting high performance from their marketing function is a much smaller percentage. It's about a third the percentage of other industries.
Do you think that because the internet has changed the way that buyers shop and consider different distributors, different suppliers, because of that shift, we now have this pressure as a distributor to invest in marketing more than we ever have before, and historically the budgets just haven't been there. And so, do you think that shifting funds in the budget, allocating dollars that historically you've never spent money on because you never had to, do you think that's a big part of why it's hard for them to make the shift faster than maybe what they need to do?
I think that's a huge part of it, Matt. I think you're really onto something there. A big part of why they're slow to shift is they don't yet believe that marketing matters that much, or that it can have that much impact, and they still believe in the importance of relationships. If you look at the number of organizations where field sales is king or queen, as the case may be, that's still pretty much the norm. They still believe that this is a relationship business. Obviously, there's a portion, there's an adoption curve. There's a portion who are starting to get ahead of the curve, but a large percentage still believe it's a relationship-oriented deal.
Right.
And the younger generation really operates in a different manner. They perceive value in a different way. They perceive relationships in a different way. A lot of the work you're doing in your agency is how do people understand digital body language with things like inbound marketing. But I think for a lot of smaller and mid-market distributors, there's just skepticism about the ultimate value of this.
Yeah, and I think your research had talked about the various demographics that we're experiencing, as our customer base, and it's a difficult time for distributors, I find, in that they still have the older traditional buyers and the traditional field reps who are really working together on that relational basis. They're investing in that. So they're spending resources in that area, but at the same time, they have this shift in not only the sales reps on their team, but the buyers who are the younger millennials, and they want a different experience. So it's like they have to do a little bit of everything, and I think that's very challenging. I mean, this isn't the only market been disrupted in this way, but I think that they're particularly in a position that makes it difficult for them to spread out their marketing across different demographics, doing different things in different channels. And I think your research had, kind of touched on that. It's how do they invest in these various channels when they have this shoestring budget a lot of times? What would you say to a distributor who wants to market to the younger buyers and the changing demographics, but they find it very difficult?
I think it's really important to find out what the mix is in your customer base. So we published a report. We did a research on with over 10,000 end customers, not distributors. 30 distributors. This is the customer base of 30 different distributors, over 10,000 end customers. And what we see is that every customer base is kind of like a snowflake. It's unique. So I'll give an example that I think illustrates the phenomenon well. So there's one manufacturer that has a number of distributors. They've got a very tight distributor network. And we did a survey of their main distributor in the Bay Area, and we did a survey of their main distributors, customers in Pacific Northwest. So you would think, well, similar, it's going to be similar, right? Same manufacturer, very tight relationship with the distributors. It was night and day. So the knowing really what's going on has to be done by voice of customer. At any point in time, by the way, just FYI, we're running 3 to 4 surveys with end customers, getting that voice of the customer. The cost of being wrong is high. So if you assume that your customer base is all digital, and you go out and you spend $500,000 on an e-commerce platform, and you buy the really high-end marketing automation platforms, you're going to be spending capital and expense dollars ahead of when you need to spend them. If your customer base actually is more relational, or it's less digital in its adoption, you need to know that. And so if you look at the hybrid mix, you might have a customer base that's more on the traditional side. We've done a lot of research in Canada, for example, with end customer bases. It's far more traditional. They're looking for print materials. They expect in-store merchandising. So I think the answer is it depends. You can buy our report on the survey of 10,000 end customers. I think it's a good report, but there's no substitute for getting the voice of your customers to find out what that mix is.
Yeah, I find that so many small, mid-sized distributors, I think they think that they know their customer base really well, but they don't. They're really not spending the time to go out and ask them what they want out of an experience. I think a lot of it's based on old assumptions. And, I think what you said, I say to a lot of folks when they maybe talk about, hey, I need to build an e-commerce website, and, I need to do all of this digital marketing. And, I often ask them why. Why do you feel like you need to do that? Is it because everybody else is doing it, or did you go and talk to a customer that said, I need to be able to purchase online. I'm sick of calling in my orders. I need to, I don't need to see the sales rep as nearly as much as you're sending them out to me. Just like basic things that have to do with knowing the customer better. Can you give any tips or advice for a distributor who, how do you go about getting that voice of the customer?
Surveys are easier to do than ever today. The mechanism, so whether you're using something like SurveyMonkey, Qualtrics, Survey Gizmo, these tools are all pretty easy to use. It's critical to ask the right questions, and we've run about 60 to 75 distributor surveys, so we've gotten pretty refined at how we do that. But I think asking really the right questions. There are a couple of ways to get the vote out, if you will. One is sending an email and a couple of reminders spaced, 5 to 7 days apart. But there are certain customer bases where you don't have the emails. And we've actually found that in those customer bases where it has a more traditional flavor, send them a postcard with a link on it that's really easy to type. And they go to that site and they take the survey, and then you get your data. So,
yeah, love that. That's a really great idea. We talked about this idea of understanding the customer, and that leads into this idea of developing personas and really categorizing your customer base into these different personas so that you know how to reach them, what's their preferred method, what the frequency is that they want. Do they want somebody out there every month or every quarter or every year? Do they prefer to buy online versus in person? So persona development, I would assume, is an important job, whether you're even if you're a small distributor, just knowing how to segment your customer base. Is that something that you've seen distributors have success in doing?
Well, from the research we did this year, and it's the first time we asked this particular question, we have our own experience from our consulting and what we've seen, and the research was consistent with that, which is that many distributors are, if they've done segmentation, are not using it in their marketing. So if you think about outbound email marketing, whether it's a traditional Constant Contact, MailChimp, or HubSpot or Acton, they're doing kind of a one-size-fits-all. And the premise of database marketing, which is, I don't know, probably 40 or 50 years old now. The premise of database marketing is getting relevant content to the people and trying to increase your odds of a response by small percentage points. You know, getting the right content might increase your response rate from 2% to 2.2%, right? And that additional 10% on top of the 2%, the 0.2 is 10%. That's what you're trying to get done by doing a good job of segmenting customers, meaning the business, as well as segmenting the contacts, which is creating the personas, is how do you get relevant content to them. And if you look at what's, you know, the big companies, the 800-pound gorilla in the space and the biggest gorilla of all, Amazon, nails this, right? They get you very relevant content. So that's what companies are up against. I think when I step back, there was a couple or 3 year period where a lot of the energy in the industry was how do we get decent product data for a website. That was taking up kind of all the oxygen in the room. And product data as an issue never goes away, but I think there's a big log jam of that's been removed. I think distributors now can start to focus on some of these things that are more specific to marketing and less about the content and the platform.
Right. So we're in your research, and if you guys go check it out, and we'll definitely share with you how to go get that at the end of the show today. But in the research, you talk about like 6% of the distributors surveyed are I forget the words you say. High performer, right? So very satisfied with their marketing. They're a high performer. 6%, a measly 6%. So what I want to do here is we're going to take a quick break, and then at the end of the break, we're going to come back and I want to talk about what the 6% does, and some of their tactics that maybe we can use in our business to grow and get the similar results. So we'll be right back with Jonathan Bein from Real Results Marketing.
What's your e-commerce solution? Slow speeds, broken links, do-it-yourself design. It all gets complicated fast. You need a solution that works for you in the industry you serve. SpinStack is an authority in e-commerce for industrial distributors. We do the hard work for you with full implementation services, built-in SEO, and custom design that communicates your unique value proposition. Add your products fast with a fully integrated product database containing over 500,000 SKUs. Detailed product descriptions ensure your customers' questions get answered, even in your sleep. B2C shoppers can check out quickly with our open source development add-on, while B2B accounts get the customization they need to scale on their terms. Only SpinStack offers industrial distributors a true omni-channel solution designed to help you scale your presence online, stay up to date with changing algorithms, and help your customers purchase quickly and easily. It's all part of our vision to help you create a legacy that stands the test of time. Learn more about SpinStack e-commerce at spinstack.com or call 866-270-0810.
You may have heard print is dead. We're here to tell you it's not. Recent reports found that 20% of e-commerce customers bought after receiving a catalog, and they're spending more. It turns out catalogs are an important first step in your customers' buying decisions. We can help. With over 15 years of experience in the industry, SpinStack is equipped to get your catalogs to print. Beautifully designed, with expert workflow and execution. Backed by a product database of over 20,000 SKUs. Make your catalog stand out with custom design and solutions built for your business. Visit us today at spinstack.com to learn more.
All right, guys, welcome back. I'm here with Jonathan Bein, and we've been talking about the state of distributor marketing. And we had some interesting conversations so far about, where distributors are struggling and, just the state of the marketplace. It's a very challenging time. We're having to think about various demographics. Our customer base is changing. We may not know our customers as well as we think we do. There's a lot of challenges out there, but some distributors are figuring it out. they're doing a good job. They're, in your research, we talked about 6% are high performers. So I know a lot of that might have to do with, segmenting their customers, knowing their customers, some of the things we've already talked about before the break. What other things are they doing, Jonathan, in terms of seeing the marketing part of their business become that profit center like you talk about?
The activities in high performer, moderate performer, and underperformer are similar in many cases. What's different is the frequency and intensity with which the high performers do them. So, for example, if you look at the moderate performers or the underperformers, they may be doing email marketing, but it's sporadic. It might be once a month, it might be every 6 weeks, or it might be every 2 or 3 weeks, but it's not. They're not doing it frequently enough. It's about the frequency and intensity with which they do these things. So the high performers are doing these things on a daily or at the least frequent weekly basis. That means they're doing search marketing daily to weekly. That means they're sending emails daily to weekly. That means they're doing social media daily to weekly. Whereas the moderate and underperformers are doing them either less frequently or worse, sporadically. And part of the psychic shift for distributor marketers to make is to understand that your customers really do want to hear from you. Many distributors get in the mindset of thinking, my customers must be like who I am as a private citizen. As a private citizen, I don't like getting junk mail. I have to recycle it. I don't like getting spam email. I delete it immediately. And I don't like getting phone calls on my landline. By the way, I'm old enough to still have a landline. If I get a phone call on the landline, it's pretty guaranteed that somebody wants money from me. So people assume that their B2B customers are the same as we are as individual citizens. Our research shows over and over and over and over again, your customers want to hear from you more than you know. And so it's for distributors to break out of this sort of timid mindset of being afraid to offend or, God forbid, market to our customers.
Yeah, I'm so grateful that you said that. I can't tell you how many times I've talked to a client and I say, well, we got to email every week. Every week, here's the email schedule, and no. Let's do every other week.
Won't that bother them?
Yeah. It's way too spammy. I don't like getting emails, and my customers won't get email. But the problem is that when you do it infrequently, like you said, it actually has this backfire effect. I see more unsubscribes from email campaigns that are not frequent enough. So what happens is it's like you have to get acquainted, like they have to get acquainted with seeing you in their inbox over and over again, week after week, and then they start seeing the value of what you're sharing with them. So if it's just like a sales email every couple of weeks or once a month, and it's just, hey, we're having a closeout sale. I mean, that's the stuff people don't like. But, delivering value in the inbox is never going to get old.
Well, and by the way, inbox can be the physical inbox. And we see this with print marketing, direct response, traditional print. There's the same phenomena of infrequent or sporadic on the print side of things. Weekly is probably too frequent on print for most cases, but there's some sectors where print just crushes it. And what happens with print is it usually, if it doesn't get round filed immediately, it may sit in somebody's inbox, and that logo is staring them in the face. And what we find is that, if we do an 8-page flyer, the distributor is going to see lift on the products that are in that flyer, but they're going to see lift overall from that customer on other products because they come to top of mind. So, same phenomena, different media.
Right. And, you mentioned one of the channels that I think a lot of traditional distributors are struggling with, and that is social media. So, I think they've thought, well, that's just not for me. That's not going to be a channel where I can be successful. And, I agree. Like if you're just out there on social media and you're sharing products that you sell, or you're, it's just another place for you to do a sales pitch, I think that that's where we see a lot of disengagement. But on the other hand, if you're producing content that's educational, funny, entertainment, and if you are engaging with your B2B buyers as human beings, I think that's where we've seen a lot of success. And so there's definitely a way to do it right, and there's a way to do it wrong. What have you seen from distributors that are doing it the right way?
I think you characterized it well. What I would add is the distinction between product marketing versus corporate marketing. And I think social media is not a great vehicle for product marketing. I think it can be a very good vehicle for product marketing. For corporate marketing. I think it can be a very good vehicle for corporate marketing.
Right.
And building the relationship and building the brand along the ways that you were describing.
Right. Like, here's an event that we did. Here's how we gave back to the community. I actually believe that every e-commerce customer needs some sort of retargeting campaign that's running consistently as well, so that when visitors, are on your site, they come to Facebook on their free time, you show up, with a video or with some sort of, branded graphic, and you're, like you said, like with the print marketing, you're staying on top of mind, and throughout their lives, and just being there. So that's some ways that I think we're seeing distributors who are doing it the right way succeeding. One of the other things that I think you had mentioned to me is that the best performing distributors when it comes to marketing are utilizing a CRM of some sorts in conjunction with their website and possibly marketing automation of some kind. But according to your research, less than a third said they're doing something specific with targeting. So when it comes to marketing automation and CRM, what are the winners doing?
Well, first of all, they have a real CRM system, not the bolt-on that comes from the ERP company. The bolt-on that comes from the ERP company is typically a desktop application as opposed to a browser or web-based thing. So they're getting a real CRM. The second thing is they are moving from email marketing to marketing automation. And the combination of CRM and marketing automation starts to provide, especially if the CRM is integrated with the ERP, starts to provide a 360-degree view of your client that you can't get with just straight desktop CRM or without marketing automation. And that becomes critical when we think about omni-channel, meaning integrated channel as opposed to multi-channel, which is siloed channels. Those are two really key things for getting from multi to omni. A lot of distributors that even have CRM are not using it very much. Getting the customer-facing personnel, primarily field sales, to use it is a challenge. Mm-hmm. Interestingly, and you've probably seen this in your practice, when you start to provide the inbound data that comes from a marketing automation tool, there's suddenly enough information in there that they say, hey, it's not just Big Brother watching me. That's why I'm using CRM. I'm actually getting information from it where I can be more effective in what I do.
Yeah, I found that marketing automation can do two things really, really well. One is that it can help you pick up all of the crumbs that you're leaving out there with all of the customers, all of the accounts that you're not giving the attention to. So if you think about the typical field sales rep, they have dozens of accounts that they're responsible for. They can't possibly touch every single one on a weekly or monthly basis, sometimes not even quarterly. And so, automating the follow-up, automating the sales process, the touches, that is something that can add a tremendous amount of value to sales reps, as they can kind of wake up sleeping customers. And then the other thing that I've seen is the ability to automate the abandoned shopping carts, with their e-commerce sites. So creating that workflow, that automated email campaign that follows up on orders that haven't been put through, that haven't been executed, because their buyers get busy, and we're living in a world that we're very distracted. And at the buyer level, they may want to put through the order. They're trying to be proactive, but life gets in the way, and so they need those email reminders. Otherwise, we could lose the order. They could go somewhere else. And so automating all of that is really tremendous. I'm assuming that a lot of the high performers are doing just that.
The abandoned shopping cart is not seeing huge adoption yet. I mean, if I look at where marketing automation is from a technology adoption lifecycle perspective, it's about to get into the early majority. So it's just like between early adopter and early majority. But as you and I have discussed outside of this call, a lot of those who are using marketing automation are just doing things they could do in a Constant Contact or MailChimp. They're not doing the segmentation that allows them to provide more relevant and targeted content.
Right. So this was really great. I think we could just go on for a couple hours here. But I know that you have other stuff that you're working on. I'm hoping that you're going to come back on the show soon to talk more about what you're doing. You mentioned the state of e-commerce as another report that you're working on. Can you maybe talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, so we do that in the first quarter of the year, every year, and we'll be launching that over the next couple of weeks. One of the things that we track in there is the amount of revenue that's going through e-commerce, and that has shifted really significantly in 2017. I mean, it was we had looked at the trend and we're like, oh, this is where it's going to be in 2017, and we were wrong. I mean, it was a significant lift in revenue going through e-commerce. So when we sort of play that forward to 2020. You're going to have a lot of distributors that are 10 to 20% or more e-commerce revenue. And when that happens, when you get somebody that's at 20 or 25 or 30%, they're taking share from their competitors when they get to that stage. So we think that the tipping point in that is coming in the next couple of years, almost independent of what sector you're in. There are some sectors that are a little slower in digital adoption, but over the next probably 2 years, meaning by the end of, say, 2020, even the slower ones are going to have a leader. Doesn't mean everybody's up to speed, but they're going to have a leader who's starting to take share from others because of their capability.
Yeah, that's really fascinating. I cannot wait to see the results of that. I know last year's we saw that the spike happening, and it really is. I mean, I think we've been talking about it for years now that it's coming. But you made a great point in that, it's no longer a value added service to be able to order online. I think it now is becoming a requirement. If you don't have that ability, then I'm going to have to seek another supplier. So really, really good. Good stuff. I can't wait to see the rest of the data.
Well, Matt, I look forward to the next encounter. May it be soon.
Yeah, I know that the folks up here, if they don't know about you, if they're living under a rock as a distributor and they don't know about Real Results Marketing and the stuff that you guys do, there's tons of fantastic content at your website, including the state of e-commerce and distribution, the impact of Amazon Business on distributors, where you're gonna go into a lot of detail. Great written content on the site. Where can listeners go to access these resources and learn more about you and the work that you do at Real Results?
Yeah, so if on our website, we've got two sections. It's realresultsmarketing.com. One is insights, another is research. The insights you don't have to register for. You can just look at the content. The research you need to register for. So,
awesome.
And we're updating that constantly. Actually, by the way, I live under a rock too. I live under the Rocky Mountains or near the Rocky Mountains, so it's not so bad living under a rock.
That's right. I probably said that subconsciously. Anyway, thank you so much. I'm going to put some links, guys, just so you know, I'll put some links in the blog post where you can easily get to those pages. But Jonathan, it's been a pleasure. Thank you so much for all the work that you do for the marketplace, and look forward to having you back again soon. Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much, Matt. Looking forward as well.